Good morning, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all today on behalf of the AABN Core Committee for our 187th weekly webinar. I would like to thank all of you for your interest and your continued active participation and commitment towards this webinar series. I would like to thank the Core Committee of AABN for collaborating and organizing this weekly webinar in these very challenging times. We are well represented from several domains here today. As we move forward to ensure the future of AABN, we will continue to invest the vast potential inherent in collaboration among individuals of varying backgrounds, perspectives, and expertise. I would like to thank Mr. Sanjay Gangopadhyay, our guest speaker today, for willingly cooperating to share his valuable knowledge and experience on a focus on operational assurance. Only through collective efforts can we improve and become more sustainable. In the world of elite sports, playing for a high-performing team can be an uncomfortable experience at times. With expectations set high, each missed basket, each missed open goal, or every dropped pass brings groans from other players and spectators alike. Even when you are ahead of the pack, missed opportunities are disappointing. Leading oil and gas companies are not football club from Barcelona, etc. We see well-respected, world-class organizations,
From Barcelona,
but the
etc.
star page of performance is occasionally lacking.
World-class organizations, but the star page of performance is
This,
lacking.
this typically means the organization is not meeting its own performance goals, which often results from inadequately managing performance. Sometimes this occurs because senior executives have not defined success clearly, or they have focused excessively on identifying benchmarks while avoiding more critical discussions on how they should use metrics to make better decisions about how they run the business. To raise their game, oil and gas executives may need to revisit the way they manage performance. Leading players take an approach that goes well beyond benchmarks to develop the right forums and decision-making process that will turn metrics and insights into the right decisions, discussions, and actions. In this webinar today, Mr. Sanjay will introduce the concept of operations assurance to those with some involvement in major energy projects. It identifies the current issue experienced by industrial mega projects and explains how these may be resolved with a robust operation and assurance process and the appropriate tools, touching on the experience of a number of such projects and the reasons for their varying degree of success in deploying operations assurance. I have the pleasant duty of introducing and welcoming Mr. Sanjay, business consultant, oil and gas downstream units, to this interactive business networking session. Sanjay is a chemical engineer from Jadavpur University and an MBA with over 39 years of operating experience in refining and petrochemical industry. Passionate about achieving world-class standard on safety, reliability, and efficiency in refining, petrochemical, and chemical industries in India. He started his career as a graduate engineering trainee at Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Haldia, has had a long stint at Reliance Industries Limited in various capacities, from production manager to shift manager to the chief of operations, and also involved in the business transformation project and was leading the operations of GGSR HMEL Batinda. Having spent his entire career in the refining industry, he aims to share his attributes to achieve greater heights. He feels it can be accomplished by offering expertise in operations in refining, businesses, and integrating the same with various facets of the business with HSE, optimization, efficiency, automation, add value to investments, and analyze at macro level for laying down the roadmap. Synergy in the overall business complemented with various management tools to ensure safety production. Improvement in human capital through coaching is expected to add further value in the organization. He is a product of the GE School, trained in Six Sigma, and has successfully defended a black belt project and facilitated successful completion of 3 green belt projects in one of the largest integrated refinery complex in India. Sanjay is an excellent table tennis player himself and has several accolades during his tenure in the university and IOCL. There is so much to Mr. Sanjay's achievements and journey. I'm not sure it can all be summarized in the limited time in this session. Once again, a very warm welcome to you, sir. We are truly privileged to have you deliver the speech today. Those who know him say his enthusiasm is infectious. We are lucky to experience it up close today. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Sanjay.
Thank you, Mr. Gopi, and very good morning to all the webinar participants. I was amazed at how Gopi could gather so much of information and pass it on to you. So that's amazing. So let us start with a very amazing topic. This topic is
good morning, boss.
is absolutely more than relevant in today's scenario.
2 weeks, huh?
Too many accidents have been have been happening in and around our industries in India and of course abroad also. And this can very well be, at the first place, this can very well be reduced and then finally eliminated. But for that, we need certain things to be done so that things get eliminated. And the one which we will be talking about today is on operational assurance. Just to focus on that. To start with, this is neither a software program nor just a whimsical scheme of things. It is a well-planned, circumventing all the best practices in one package, and then once this is implemented, these shows lot of fruits, and it is already involved. Some of the refineries, the best in class, the big players, they are already doing this and have started bearing fruits. So today we'll talk about operational assurance at the backdrop of these events. Next.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So before we proceed further, we will start with a safety contact. This safety contact is about a gas explosion in a tracking unit. This is in one of the ammonia plant. This is recorded by EPSC, European Process Safety Center. And the incident was that during a startup of hydrogen cracking unit, the required level in the HP drum separator disappeared. And this led to gas breakthrough, and gas cloud ignited violently, and there was a huge explosion and loss of life. So what has happened exactly? So liquid feed was stopped, but gas feed continued, and the loss of upstream liquid, that HP vessel, that level loss led to the breakthrough. There is a valve there of ESD, emergency shutdown valve, but that perhaps didn't work, and everything went to the LP drum, which is obviously not designed for handling such a high pressure. In this context, way back, maybe early 80s or maybe mid of 80s, those who are from Cochin refinery, at that time it was a Cochin refinery, not BPCL refinery. So they had a problem in the stabilizer, wherein LPG sneaked through that because of the valve passing, and then it went to the tank, and the tank exploded, and a lot of people in and around that tank farm, they lost their life. So this is a typical thing which is happening, and we'll show the aspect. Low-level trip of the HP separator, which prevents gas breakthrough, was taken out of service. And for that, you have to have a mitigation measure till the time that is not back in line. The pressure relief device protecting the LP separator was sized for fire and not for gas flow from the HP separator. So these are the considerations when you do HAZOP that a designer needs to take care of. What we want to say here is that these sort of incidents are very much avoidable, and if we can think of do certain actions before going for this, if we can mitigate those measures, we can take mitigative measures, then these things can be avoided. Obviously, we are going to inside the fence, not to lose our life. We earn our living, we serve for the country, we make products, but that does not mean we can lose our life or get injured. So again, the safety contract is very much in line with what we are trying to focus on today. So let us say that demystify operational assurance. So what is operational assurance? When we talk about this, this can be taken forward for most of the units, but we will talk today on production units only. So what it does, it ensures safe production and then transact major business process in world-class fashion and support and improve plant and asset reliability by operating within defined limits. Very, very important. So finally, it is about boundary. We'll come to that later on. Provide a structure for data integrity, ensuring process equipment are captured in a single window, thus avoiding data decay. It's so important. So many times it happens that because of data decay, we have landed into problem. The calculation has gone wrong because the data itself is wrong. So this is operational assurance will eliminate that. It provides platform to manage effective communication up to execution level. That's the important. Up to execution. Why execution? All of us still remember that Alpha Piper incident. So that happened. 167 lives. Forget about 32 billion financial loss. 167 lives were lost because of ineffective communication. So operational assurance will eliminate that. And for that, certain things are required to be done. That's fine, but we will talk on that again. Improving efficiency in operations, managing data logging and analysis, and finally, whatever we are doing, nothing is perfect. Everything is evolving. So whatever we are doing today, perhaps we can do in a better way, and that's what operational assurance talks about. So let us go to the next slide and see that how and what. So how everything cannot be dealt in such detail as of now because the time is very limited. But definitely to the extent possible, I'll touch upon that. But mainly it will be on what we can do. And at the end of the day, if somebody wants certain things that how it is to be done, I'm absolutely available. Anytime we can discuss about this. So operational assurance basically operates on 4 pillars. But when we talk about pillars, at the backdrop of that pillar is finally 3 P's: the plant, the people, and the process. In fact, the sequence should be the people, plant, and process. So people, they are the cradle, they hold that. The plant, that's the fabric, and process is the pattern. So at the backdrop of this, whatever model, whatever pillars we do at the back, these 3 P's will always be there. So you have to design and formulate everything based on these 3 P's. The 4 pillars we'll talk one by one. So the 4 pillars basically, number 1 is feed strategy, because I thought that this crowd is mainly from refining petrochemicals, chemical industries. I want to include fertilizers also, because for them also the same thing is applicable. Anyway, so that's why I have named it feed strategy. It can be named somewhat differently also. The other parts are safety, the operations management, and operational discipline. I will focus.
Yeah. Sollu, 7.
Hello. Okay. I'll focus on this on operational discipline, and will deal in some detail because this is actually the backbone. And then reliability in the form of integrity, asset management, etc. So that also we will discuss. So let us go to the next slide, which is feed strategy next. So feed strategy, what does the feed strategy say? it says today also we are doing, but today the thing is we have pockets of excellence. We do not have uniform excellence in the thing. I'm not criticizing anybody, but that's the way it evolves. That's the way it improves. So the thing is, we have pockets of excellence, but in particularly in operations, in safety, nothing is digital. Either 0 or 100. 97 does not mean anything. So that means you are still opening the door for some hazard. So in fit strategy, you do a what if study. I'll give you a very simple example. Nowadays, after this Russia-Ukraine war, we had been we had been processing a Russian crude, which initially was thought to have a lot of organic chloride. And as far as the refining the operation is concerned, the desalters are not able to remove those organic chlorides. So what happens? These goes to the downstream, and then particularly in hydrotreaters, the hydrotreater is about hydrogen, and you have fluoride. So that means you form HCl. If the situation is correct, composition is not given correct, environment is not given, it forms HCl, and then it can lead to disaster. So that's why it's very important. Whenever we do something, we must judge that what if. This is a file-based or fishbone diagram. All these things can be done, and we arrive at to as what if this happens. So we have a mitigation measure in place. The next one is, of course, prevent jumping in the well. Somebody is doing well, very nice. So we also will do well. We also want to do well. After all, business is for making money. We want to make money. Absolutely fine. But I cannot jump on the well because such and such refinery A is doing very nice. So I can also do the same thing. So everybody, every entity, every organization is unique by itself. So one has to be circumspect as to what we can do, where are the constraints, and once some mitigation measure is available, yes, definitely we can proceed further. So this will prevent jumping in the well. So profitable business, but safe production, no doubt on that. So that's the bottom line. Silently aggressive, we will talk on certain things also later on. But we want to proceed further. We want to make more money. We want to be more, want to have more throughput, and so on and so forth. So this is, we have to, but the same thing will be done and with some mitigation, some backup measures. So that's why one has to be silently aggressive. Calculated risk. When we talk about PSM, etc., everything is risk-based. So we can always take a calculated risk, provided we see that this is this risk we can absorb. So that's the way we must proceed. And finally, there are very popular words: fortune favors the brave, etc., etc. These are good words, but when it comes to industry, when it comes to hazardous industry like refining or petrochemicals or chemical or fertilizers, whatever it be, we cannot depend upon the fortune. We have to take a conscious decision, conscious way of doing things. That's what fit strategy will finally shape for. Next. So very quickly, I'll not delve in some detail. If somebody has some questions later on, we can definitely discuss. But the next part is about safety and next. So this is about workplace safety. It is about process safety management. To me, there's hardly any difference. everything is included there in that big envelope. So there's nothing called a workplace safety. So that is doing well, but process safety management is not doing well. It's nothing of that sort. Everything is a combined thing. Anywhere it is like the famous Swiss that Swiss model that if you have holes which are areas of improvement and these holes get aligned, you have lead to a disaster. So the effort is towards plugging those holes. Obviously, zero hole will be very, very difficult, but if you can plug most of the holes and de-align those holes from the various measures, various barriers, then obviously all incidents can be avoided. So we have to believe that all incidents can be avoided. Now, when we talk about this, this part I'll deal in some detail is about operational discipline. I'll start with a very simple example. When we go to a temple or a mosque or a church, wherever we go, we have certain, we show certain operational discipline. In what way? Even a child knows that when he goes inside the temple, that he has to remove the shoes, he has to ring the bell, he has to garland the god. He will not shout. He will not be that playful, but a bit of concentrated on that. Everything is silent, no hubbub, no commotion. So these are not. Nobody has told prior to that child's entering the temple that you should not do this, that, etc., etc. It has, as if it has come automatically. This is what we call culture. And for as far as the organization, the operations units are concerned, this is nothing but operational discipline. Through this, you develop that culture. So that's the way you develop culture. So culture is a manifestation of the following of operational discipline. So that's why this makes those who have been to Golden Temple, just imagine lakhs and lakhs of devotees every day throngs that temple, and needless to say, it's absolutely there is seamless. There's nothing, no problem. Everybody is going, taking whatever way they want to offer their prayers, etc. Everything is smooth, silent. This in spite of thousands and lakhs thronging that place. So it is because we have imbibed in us a thing called operational discipline, and that's the way that's a way an organization also has to run. So we will talk about that again because that's a backbone. That's a thing through which everything will finally emit. Aspects of workplace safety and process safety management are behavioral safety. I'll not touch go into detail, but everybody knows. So starting from ergonomics to the training to other human factors. So these are already nowadays being taken care. Earlier days when we started, obviously these were not there, but these are very important aspects of smooth operation, safe and smooth operation, reliable operation of the plants. Technology, we talk about AR, VR, etc. So that's a lot of technology. This is again evolving. So we get a lot of leverage out of that. Management systems, which is very, very important. Unless and until you have a system in place, definitely things will go haywire. The big players, the best players in the world, and we say 20, 30 years back, the difference between this was that they had a very good management system even 30 years back. And we in India didn't have a lot of a good management system in place. And that's what we have evolved. That's where we are improving. And with a good management system, these things can definitely improve. And external circumstances, those are always there. Some of them are beyond your control, but you can always minimize that and mitigate to a certain extent. So we come to next. So next we come to that operational, the elements of operational discipline. Next. So I'll start with these are called enablers. These are not the language is not mine. It's purely DuPont, but I have put it in somewhat different way. But the basic work is by DuPont, which has emanated from years and years of so-called research and good work on this. And finally, these elements have been brought into fold. If you see properly, if you follow this properly, the entire gamut almost has been covered. That's where this is so important. So I'll start with the active line of communication, because some time back I was referring to the Alpha Piper, and it was because of active line of communication was not available, and that led to this disaster. 167 people lost their lives. Up-to-date documentation, this is more than important, because without documentation, without record, you cannot refer, you cannot learn. So that's why up-to-date documentation. Practice consistent with procedures. This is what we called, when I was referring to the temple and church example, this is everybody practices whatever is in the procedure. Procedure means which is culture.
On slideshow, please.
Then absence of shortcuts. There cannot be any shortcut. People think that we will save some time if we can jump from here to there, but that can lead to some bigger problem. And finally, you don't gain in time. You don't gain in time. You don't gain in with respect to finance. You land into a problem. There are other issues. So absence of shortcuts, no shortcut at all. Excellent housekeeping, of course. That's a favorite word is cleanliness is goodliness or godliness, whatever way you interpret it. The other one is other part is leadership by.
Sorry to disturb. Can you put it on slideshow mode, please? They're not able to clearly.
Okay, some problem? Okay. Leadership by example. So unless until you lead from the front, obviously there will be people will not be very much willing, etc. Just imagine 1983 Prudential World Cup when Kapil Dev scored that 175 not out. He led from the front, and then that brought for India. He really did it. That was a leadership by example. Common shared values. Wherever we work, the Chandrayaan this thing, expedition, that entire project, it's because of common shared values. Everybody worked towards that goal. That's a bullseye. Everybody worked towards that bullseye, and then we met with a success. A strong teamwork. Needless to say that always prized thing, that if we have a strong teamwork, everybody will contribute.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Any problem?
No, sir. No, sir. Go on, sir. Go on, sir.
Okay, please.
No, Gopi sir, can you ask him to put it on slideshow mode? Because the picture is not clear for us. You can go on slideshow or presentation.
Then pride in the organization. Obviously, the pride which the people who have worked for Chandrayaan, the pride they take in the organization, That's a price thing. So that's make them very, very cohesive unit. Functioning capability, this is where we are really facing a huge problem. It's not that about manpower, it's not that only manpower is available, the manpower with the required competency. That's very important. So functioning capability has to be extra stressed upon to take us forward. And employee involvement. Again, this is sort of teamwork. So these are, if you see at a macro level, these are the area. If you delve in that, each and every element will have micro details in that. And if you can split it into micro details, you will see that the entire gamut has been covered. And if we can follow this, that's the culture, so-called culture we develop, and then it almost eliminates every untoward incident. This is for sure. People who are following this, the bigger players, they are really getting fruit out of this. That's why I took some time to talk on this. Next. So this is a process safety risk management model. There are a lot of elements. The next one also. Next one. Yeah. So the latest one is this. This is 22 element. This thing. So both are risk based. In this regard, I'll say that whatever I have shown, this is about a DuPont safety process safety model. We have throughout the world 3 such processes, such models are in use. One is OSHA, which is mainly American compliance thing. The other one is CCPS, Center for the Chemical Process Safety. So that is also risk-based, but they have evolved recently. DuPont has evolved with this model quite early. And again, just to give a background, I'm not advertising for DuPont, but a gunpowder factory started maybe 1802, 1805, something like that. And over the years, 200 years, 250 years of operation, hardly there is any incident. And right, they evolved these things right from the beginning, and over a period of time, they landed up into this sort of models. And these have really, really helped them to make a trouble-free, incident-free organization. Believe me, DuPont is perhaps not a very good, does not have a very good pay package. But people, once they are get into DuPont, they do not leave it because of their good policies, because they are very, very safe organization. So that's a huge compliment. When we talk about these elements, so all the elements will not be able to deal in detail, but we'll talk about 2 or 3 such things. One is emergency preparedness and contingency planning. This is a bit of reactive thing. It's not a proactive thing, but we will talk about this in the next slide when we have a model wherein you can predict and practice all those. I'll come to that a little bit later. But the other things are any management of change. Any change, this is absolutely treacherous. If you are not managing the management of change properly, it's very, very dangerous. I can give hundreds of examples that how people have fallen in the ditch because of improper management of change program. The other part is about quality assurance. This is called mechanical integrity and quality assurance. At the last part of our this session, we'll talk about how those things can be addressed. That how not only quality, it's a mechanical integrity, how this can be assured. And the other one is procedures procedures about and performance standards. So one has to have a very, very strong procedures wherein people will work based on that. Once there is some problem, some deficiencies there, that procedure that can be definitely revised. But at the end of the day, you have to adhere to the procedure. So that will make things far more easier, and that will assure you of safe and reliable operation. So that's that's the way it goes. I cannot deal because of time. I will not be able to deal with further details. But when we do some question and answers, if somebody has some questions, queries, definitely we can discuss on that. Next slide. So this is about nowadays everything is risk based. So it's not that at my whims and fancies I decide I'll do this or will not do this. So there is a definitive method. It's a hazardous industry, so a dangerous phenomena, substance, any human activity or condition, everything can have hazard. But what is the risk? It's the consequence into probability. So this can be very well addressed through a matrix. There are other methods. The matrix which I have indicated here is the simplest one. There are some more complicated, more complex matrix. But at the end of the day, you decide, you finalize your decision based on certain risk matrix, risk-based thing, wherein the moment it is acceptable risk, you go ahead with that. The one which is not acceptable, you will not go ahead. You will not go ahead with the problem. So at the end of the day, only the safe option will be followed. So for this, lot of details we can talk about, but again, with this within this time, we'll not be able to delve into some more detail. But the bottom line is, whatever you do, that has to be risk based. And during fifth strategy discussion, I was mentioning, you just cannot jump in the way. You have to see that what is the risk involved, and based on that, if the risk is acceptable, you go ahead. And that's the way gradually you put mitigation measures, and that's the way you evolve yourself and move forward. Next. This is the one which I was talking about, that incident investigation, I'm sorry, emergency planning. This is emergency planning. People normally will ask that if we have not got any emergencies here and there until now, so how do we evolve into those? How do we get to know what are the emergencies which can be? The probability is infinite. The number of happenings which can happen is infinite. So how do we go about? So this is just a simple example. And this software is called Aerial Locations of Hazardous Atmosphere. It's called Aloha. This is the simplest one, easily available in the internet. But there are many more softwares, very comprehensive softwares are available nowadays. The idea is, it is sort of QRA, means quantitative risk assessment. That means, suppose your plant is very much susceptible to the major risk is, say, hydrogen sulfide. So that's that will kill people. So what you do, you give certain input to these softwares, and then based on the leakage, based on the leakage size, based on the pressure, based on the temperature, based on wind condition, and so on and so forth, you get to know that up to what level this can get affected. And based on that, you prepare yourself as though anything emergency apparently means that it's a reactive thing, but actually proactively you are preparing yourself for those contingencies, and you get to know from the software that how much it will get affected, where it will get affected, what are the things you need to cover, etc., etc. And then you add your expertise in this, and overall you get to know, you make a very good comprehensive so-called SOP of emergency handling. So that's why I thought this is very, very important. These are all available, but people may not be using, but this is a very, very interesting and very, very important tool wherein you can prepare yourself for emergency handling. Next. So again, this seems to be a bit of out of this thing, but I could not help but intentionally had put this slide, that few best practices. See, the entire operational assurance program is about putting all the best practices in a basket and then following them in an orderly fashion so that nothing untoward happens. So only few, there are lot many, but all these, whatever I had mentioned, all these have led to major industrial disaster. That's why I was forced to put this slide. The first one is spading to be done nearest to the equipment under maintenance. Everybody knows that whenever that equipment is under maintenance because of energy, etc., etc., you need to put isolate, you need to put spades, you need to isolate the valves, etc. But if it is not nearest to the equipment, even putting a spade in the equipment can spell a disaster. Not recently, maybe 5-6 years back, one of the major industry in Baroda, they had a big problem because of this. Bleeders, if any, at the downstream of the spade to be kept open in the entire duration. This is otherwise looks to be a very foolish thing. What is it there that it's to be kept, to be required to be kept open? But again, this particular one, because it was not followed, this has led to a disaster. Spades must be properly engineered and follow standard. Time and again, people will say, okay, isolation. Okay, we have isolated. You have to put spade. You put something, a metal piece there. So that's not the way to work. So that's not the way to work in a standard way, because this is not eliminating hazard. So again, that's why I had to put this. Spades must be properly engineered. Very, very important. Material compatibility during the online sealing. Forget about only online sealing. Online sealing nowadays, people attend the leaks online because the plant cannot be shut down every now and then, so they do online. Nothing wrong with that. But then you have to have a comprehensive program for that. This is an area where most of the organizations are not following. The number one is there are chemical to metal reaction matrix, metal to metal reaction matrix. So there are a lot of reaction matrix, which means that the one which I am using, whether that is compatible or not. If it is not compatible, then again it will lead to a problem. The one which we are trying to avoid is just a temporary thing, and then again everything will go haywire. So that's why it is very important to have a matrix available as to say naphtha to a certain metal. Say naphtha having fluoride and stainless steel. So that is not the correct thing. So because stainless steel is not compatible to high chloride. So that's why before you evolve all those things, before you plan for those things, you must go for interaction matrix study for ensuring that what actually you are doing is correct. There are numerous examples. I can give you an example of Chevron also. They had put CS and SS together, and they had a weldolate, and it gave way because it was of variation in temperature. We'll talk on this in the later part of this also. Because of temperature, because of chloride, because of welding compatibility, the hardness, etc. So all these comes into play. So each and everything it is a well thought out, well planned activity. So we have to think about things, and all those are will be in place. These are all standard way. The operational discipline already says that documentation has to be perfect. So you do all this, and if you can do this, and then execute in a well-planned manner, you are absolutely safe. So that's the way, again, it assures that operation is safe, reliable, and sustainable. The final one is about HIDA. HIDA means hazard identification and risk assessment. JSA is this is a safety review again. This has to be reviewed at that same job at different places. This is a very, very important part. People think that once this is written, you have explained, and then you go ahead day after day. It's not the case. Every now and then, after every break, the environment may change. And if that those changes are not addressed properly, it may lead to disaster. Again, there have been a lot of disasters because of this so-called foolish thing, but it has happened. So I thought it's very, very important that to jot down a few of these best practices. Next. So finally, the diagram of a hierarchy of controls is elimination. First and foremost thing is you eliminate. So if that is not possible, then you substitute, and always substitution will, if substitution has to be done, if it is required to be done, and then substitution can be done with lot of care, like engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. PPE is a bare minimum, so that's we should not talk at all. So that has to be as a mandatory thing has to be there. Other things you have to work out and see that how best administrative controls can be done, how best engineering controls can be done. I can give examples if somebody wants later on. I can give examples, but this is how it works. It's very simple, but then everybody knows about this, but then we tend to forget from time to time, and that's what leads to the disaster. Next. So what are the key takeaways? I'll just read it because this is very, very important in the sense that we were talking about earlier days, it was hardly just a compliance. Now it is risk-based. So how it has evolved and why it is important. So compliance is a foundation of effective risk management. That is transitioning from a compliance-first approach to a risk-first mindset that recognizes that compliance is an integral part of broader risk management strategy. So when I don't know anything, if somebody has told all policies, rules, etc. are there, just everything, I need not reinvent the wheel. I do not know, but it says that you comply with this, then you are safe. So that's the way it has to proceed. But then further to that, I have to have a risk-based thing so that I can always say that if I do this way, this will have higher risk. If I do this way, it will have lower risk, and so on and so forth. So that mindset uh, is absolutely important. So the risk-first attitude is a philosophy that focuses on identifying, treating, and managing the highest compliance risks and prioritizing them through controls, policies, and standard operating procedures. That's what, again, the DuPont operational discipline also says. A risk-first approach enhances organizational resilience and fortifies a foundation where risk awareness becomes an inherent part of decision making. That's what I was stating earlier also, that it's not at the whims and fancies of somebody. I may be competent, incompetent, whatever it is. It has to be, there has to be a risk-based approach, and based on that, if it is within the acceptable limit, then only I'll proceed. If not, I'll stop there. So that will prevent untoward incident happening. So that's why I thought that these are the key takeaways that this should be shared. Next. Now the third element is about, so we have talked about two elements in this operation assurance model. Number one was of course, was a fit strategy. And the second one was about safety, which is workplace safety, process safety management, and operational discipline, etc. Operational discipline will be everywhere. Where whatever we talk, that at the back end, operational discipline will continue to appear, and based on that only, then taking that this is actually like a religious book. Whatever is there in the Gita, in the Quran, in the Bible, so we follow that. So operational discipline is almost like that. You follow that, so that's the way you enrich yourself. So whatever we talk at the back end will be operational discipline. So the thing is, operations management is again doing things the right way at the right time and right every time. So what it says that it creates highest level of efficiency possible. That is more than required. Then we will of course limit this to safe production, which is about production unit. The approach will be, an approach has to be, transact major operations business in the world-class fashion, support improve plant and asset reliability by operating within defined limits. This is again part of operational discipline, and again we will deal with that. We'll talk on that how we operate within that. Provide a structure for data integrity, ensuring process and equipment data are captured in a single window, thus avoiding data leakage. And we talked about this earlier also. This is extremely important. Otherwise, we attack the wrong data, that obviously will become wrong, and then we land into problem. So operation management is doing all these taking up all these activities in a very systematic, well thought out fashion. Next. So what it does, it provides platform to manage effective communication up to execution level. We have talked about why execution level, because Alpha Piper would not have happened had it been done in the correct way. Improves efficiency in operations, managing data logging and analysis. So finally, it is adoption of best practices. It's an integrated approach. This is otherwise we say that the best 11 football team does not make the best team in the world. Otherwise, Barcelona would have won all the tournaments, but that's not the case. The best 11 not necessarily make the best team, because there is the caveat is, if the approach is not integrated, you will not get the actual level. It will not, the synergy will not happen. Then clear communication. Time and again, I'm mentioning this, that clear communication is very, very important. We'll see that how this can be addressed. And of course, proactive monitoring. There's nothing great in doing a reactive thing. If the patient is dead, what the doctor will do? So it is proactively, he has to treat, see that the patient survives. So we have to monitor in a proactive way such that nothing untoward happens. So three concepts for when it comes to communication, three concepts are very, very important. These are very simple things. People may be following that, but most of the people, or some of the people, I should say, are not following the way it is to be done, and that becomes a deficiency, and that leads to a problem. Again,
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, Parameshwari.
Yes, please.
Sunday disturb பண்ணிட்டேனா?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So, sir, go on.
Okay. So when we talk, these are the three concepts, simple concepts, which are sometimes partially implemented, which is not actually acceptable. It has to be in toto, and this will have a very, very important, is a good result, in fact. So these three are, one is called HOTO, everybody knows, handover, takeover. And the other one is called ESA, early shift activities. And the third one is called SAM, this is shift activity meeting. These are the three. These are the three critical activities, and mind it, big players, at least Shell, parts of Chevron, they are all following this, and it is being used to a good effect. So next, we'll talk about what is HOTO and how it is happening. Next. So these are all now, these are all digitized. Gone are those days when we started, we used to write manual log. That effort is absolutely fine because people have operated during those time also. But again, it is an evolving process. So we need to move forward to see that how those, the Swiss cheese model, how those holes can be done. Simply using, some of the people, they say that we are using an electronic log. What is that electronic log? The Excel sheet. No, Excel sheet will not do. When it comes to this sort of things, you delete all the, no Excel sheet, no PowerPoint, no Word file, nothing. Only a system-driven tool will be, digitized tool will be used, which will have a tremendous tuning effect, you can say. So these are the suite of tools available. These are digitized model, facilitate safer and reliable activities, including monitoring. You will never miss a critical information. I'll give you an example later on. Activities of upcoming shift crew, domain knowledge you can utilize. Nowadays, not only domain knowledge, even you can utilize artificial intelligence also. So everywhere, every time, everywhere you do not have AI available. So you can use your domain knowledge also. Then facilitate first version of truth. Very, very important. A quick thing that some leakage has taken place somewhere. The shift crew says that only 5 drops. And then the other person goes, no, it's not 5 drops, it is 5 liters. So, but then the entire thing goes astray, and when we investigate, it is found that actually the things are different. So what is required is the first version of truth. Whatever the first instance, first impression, whatever be it may not be correct, but whatever be, that gets logged and based on that you proceed further. So that's the first, facilitate first version of truth and facilitate doing things right time, right every time. This is very, very important. So this is how we'll proceed. Next. So first, let us talk a little bit about HOTO. So it's a handover takeover process. So how it happens, the outgoing crew will explain to the new incumbent all the activities snippet by snippet. In the log, we'll come to that. There are snippets. That means each and every aspect of a plant operation is covered. That has to be very, very carefully fabricated and prepared. So once that is done, your body is over. Because this is, even if I forget as a shift in charge, even if I forget something, the system will trigger something saying that this is not yet written. So that's how it becomes important. So a very important party will be OL. I'll just come in a minute on that. So the thing is, when the handover takeover is taking place, the outgoing shift crew will explain snippet by snippet each and everything. And once he goes through that, if something is not clear, then he will ask, the incoming crew will ask, what is that? He will ask for some more clarification. The party, once everything is explained, the incoming A will take over. And then the outgoing person will hand over. So this is how, that means you are ensuring that there is a seamless communication between these two important personalities. And that plays a very, very important role. So each position, like if I am an operator, operator 2, operator 1 to operator 1 will have a typical log, a log of for that position. A shift in charge to shift in charge handover will have a log commensurate with that position. So this will take place at a fixed location each time and every time. This is because why in a fixed place, you can always ask why fixed place, I can do it anywhere. No, so that's the operational discipline. Okay, so without when you when you drive a car today, after driving for 30 years, you don't need to remember constantly that A, B, C. So that comes automatically to you. So this will come automatically to you. So every time people will get there, will have a shift changeover, will pass on the information and then go. So this is again an operational discipline. Next. For ESA, this is after post-HOTO. So the thing is, suppose there is a leakage, some leaky gasket. So what will happen? I am operator 1, I am handing over to a corresponding operator 1. So what I will say, so these things are, the log says that, the snippet says that whether there is any leakage or not. So he will say yes, such and such place. So what will happen after this handover takes place? He will quickly go to that place, have a quick glance of say a leaky gasket, or whatever it is, that a bit of abnormality, and then come back to his work position. So this is a boardman will glance through all those graphics very quickly, so that he gets a feel. But important, when handing over and taking over, the last 15 minutes, alarms which have been bothering or which are creating problem, that gets loud. And these are all automatic. You need not do anything on your own. These are automatically get embedded in the system. And then importantly, you hand over that thing, that these are the critical areas where you need to look into. But at the same time, after knowing that, you will quickly glance through the graphics and will get an overall feel of what the plant, in what shape is the plant today. Next. Then we have a shift meeting, that is this will be followed by photo and ESA, and the meeting will commence. So maybe 10 minutes for handing over, takeover, say 10-15 minutes for ESA, and then 5 minutes after that. Within that 5 minutes, there will be a short team meeting wherein all the team members will participate. They will share, they have a practical view of what is in vogue, what the plant is in which condition the plant is in. This will give a much better idea to each and every, not only the team, the shift in charge, but the team leader, but all other members, and they will have, each will share their problems or areas of abnormality, and overall the team gets to know that what is there in this shift today for the plant, and what is our plan, and that based on that, everybody is in the same platform, and many tangible and intangible benefits are there. People get to know what the plant is in, which form the plant is in, and they can, in case of accidents, they can help out because they are well informed. This gives a team spirit sort of thing. These are all cannot be said as a tangible thing, but these intangible things are also there, and you will see even people in Japan, etc. They have, the form is different, but they have these sort of things for so-called spirited action of the team in question during that shift. And lot of big players, particularly Shell, does that to a good effect, and they are obviously they have a lot of benefit. There are actually a lot of benefits are from this. Next. So the consequence is shift the shift to aware of shift plan, overall awareness, team spirit, and many more. I just could have listed, but this has got a tremendous effect on the particularly operating the shift crew. Next. So what are these digitized modules? Next. So we were talking about shift handover takeover. So the basic document which will guide handover takeover is OL, or operations log. It is not an Excel sheet. It is not a Word file. It is absolutely about a system-driven, well thought out snippet from snippet which are included there, so that each and everything are part. On a given day, something is applicable, something may not be applicable, so that's fine. And most of the data will be coming from the system, from say DCS or any other system. That can be always done. So only few things are to be written manually, like the HACF incidents, like how many hoses you have inside the plant, whether the hose has been hydro tested or not, this sort of record. So those will not come from the system, but otherwise most of the data will be from the system, and that will have a tremendous impact. These are, but the important thing is the snippets are to be very well thought out, pre-configured, and that will give you really relieve you from all sorts of trouble. I'll just nowadays operators, field operators, they cannot roam about with laptops, etc. They have pumped up like a mobile, and they put data there, and wherever they go, that is a GPS thing. So wherever they have gone, everything, the route is well defined. So which is called rationalized route, and those are all recorded. And once that is recorded, if there is an abnormality, that it will be popping up, and that will be shown to the next the reliever, and he will get to know what are the things. So these are we can go into far more details, but these sort of things really helping for the safe operation of plants. The next is next is OI. Just one thing very important. Thus far, most of the people, they give into that the team leader will give instruction saying that these are the things which are required to be done. Absolutely fine. And even now today also, most of them are in Word or Excel, whatever be, and people go through those instructions. They form their own version, because everybody, whatever I will write, everybody will not be very the conclusion will not be uniform across the board. Some people will say, this means this, some people will say this means that, and so on and so forth. So this is where the lacuna lies. The instruction should be as far as practicable on tag numbers, not on sentences. This is tag instruction is the order of the day. Tag instruction means 351 FI 240. This means the description is this is unit throughput. The unit throughput is 650 meter cube per hour. So there is no confusion whatsoever that at what throughput the unit has to be operated. Because the English language, the leader may not be writing in the proper way, or whoever is reading, he is not concluding in the proper way. So that creates a lot of discrepancies, lot of problems. So once you go for tagged instruction, this is totally eliminated. So this is part of best practices, and that's where it has to be very objective, not long sentences, only standing instructions, etc. That can be obviously along with this thing, sentences, but otherwise, to the extent possible, put only and only tag instruction. So this will eliminate your language barrier, your understanding thing, whatever be. It's a data which you are seeing and in a very clear cut format. So it will have no side effects, no bad effects. Next. So next is operations monitoring. We will talk more on that also. Operations monitoring is, we talked about ESA, that quickly going through the graphics, but the technical backup team, they also need to look at the operations monitoring, that which are the things which are not going good, which are the, you can say IP21, all these things are available, but you cannot see each and every, there are hundreds and thousands of such tags. So operations monitoring is primarily for the operator, that what are the important tags which will give a correct feel of the plant. For the technology person, who will in that case just have an analysis, and if required, he will say that these are the things which needs to be addressed. So it's the critical parameters configured so that an effective monitoring with trains, displays, etc., can take place. So this is a really key performance metric because the plant health will be decided by this. So that's why this is again a very carefully configured parameters which so all these are pre-work is very important, and this will again lead to a very normal and effective monitoring. Next, we were talking about IA, etc. User alert can do that, but it's not only about IA. I may not in a plant I may not have any IA, but from taking feedback from say process advanced process control, taking feedback from lab results, the ETP sulfide level has gone up. So that gives an alert because that's very important. So that gives an alert, and that then triggers action from various agencies or the agency involved who will be responsible for this. So that's how the system triggers. Yeah, I may forget that the sulfide level had gone up, so I need to take certain action. I may forget on a given day. It's after all I'm a human being, but the system will trigger that you need to take action on this. So that's how user alert can be very helpful. Next. Now we come to a very important aspect, and finally, all said and done, the best practices, the good one, eliminating something, etc. But finally, it is about limit management. Why limit management? Because I may have certain constraints. The limit is up to the limit, the boundary within which I must operate. So that's the limit management. So for that, you have a lot of digital modules are there. So Alarm Manager platform for limit management. So you can read, act, so dynamic modeling, all these things are available. So those can be dealt in detail once we go through that. But today it will not be possible. But finally, it facilitates an effective boundary management. Next. So one of the key things is alarm rationalization. Many people think I have come across, many people think alarm rationalization means reducing the number of alarms. No, it's not. The purpose is not to reduce the number of alarms. In the process, if it gets reduced, absolutely fine. But it is not an exercise to reduce the number of alarms, but rationalize on the alarms which should get sounded every time that gets triggered from the system. So there are a few steps: checking alarm validity, determination of consequence of inaction, documentation of cause, confirmation, corrective action, documentation of operator response time. Some of them will be high priority. The operator needs to respond, say, within 5 minutes. Some of them will be a bit of lower priority. It can take 15 minutes. So all this can be very well documented, very well in the system. So the moment it triggers, so all these things will at the side, this will come into play, and you need to take action. Some of them will even have what action you are required to take. There are few probabilities, so you can go through that also. So that, but important thing is the alarm which has got triggered, that is really required. Otherwise, nuisance alarms you have to do away with. So the alarm rationalization gives you that confidence that this has come, this has got sounded. That means some action is required to be taken, or some information is required to be taken, so that some other actions can be taken. One more thing we just want to touch upon is which is very much I will say lacking in most of the industry, is about abnormal situation management, which is called ASM. why I am telling this? Many a time, and so many times it has happened that some major problem has happened, and because of that, the plants have partially got tripped. Some of the important equipment have tripped. That's fine. If it is tripping, that means it is safeguarding. That's no problem. But the problem is, at that point of time, there will be a huge flow of alarms. It is not only in hundreds, sometimes in thousands. And just think about the poor boatman. What he will do? He will see the alarm, acknowledge, or he will take action. That these certain things have happened, so he will take action. So this is a very precarious situation, and is very much will be inducive to mistakes. So that's where this alarm rationalization, very high level like dynamic alarming, etc. This comes into play, and addressing ASM is very important. Otherwise, only during those situations, we have seen that the situation has got aggravated, bad to worse, because of wrong action by the boardman. But I am not blaming the boardman at all. He's a poor fellow. He cannot handle so many alarms. So because of his of this, he has committed mistake. But not to blame him, not at all, because finally the system has to trigger. The system has to take action, and till the time it is action driven, that the system it will trip, etc. All these things are absolutely welcome, because you are still safe. That's what is required in fact. In this context, one more thing I want to mention. Uh, we talked about process safety management, etc. There are certain tags, which are certain equipment which are PSM critical. They call it PSM critical. So why it is PSM critical? Because in case of failure, if not protected properly, in case of failure, there will be loss of containment. Those things are only called PSM critical. But mind it, just to give an example, a heater, a balance draft heater, the IDFD are operating, and suddenly the ID has failed, and then the FD has failed. The heater has tripped. It is not a PSM critical equipment, not at all. This has to be understood. This has already got safeguards such that the situation is safe. So it has tripped, okay, but it has safeguarded. There is no untoward incident will happen. No loss of containment will take place. So while configuring all these, one has to go through all these concepts, and based on that only, these things are to be configured, and then you have a very comprehensive system in place. Next. So overall, that's for what how the overall integration has taken place. So production management involves seamless coordination. No doubt, we have talked about photo, ESA, the shift meeting, etc. Key aspects include control over the entire process. Needless to say, so you have to have, so be it workplace safety, be it process safety management, you have to have overall control of the system. Obviously, safety will be the topmost priority, and digitization will play a very critical role, a crucial role in ensuring safety, operational efficiency, most important decision making, and this will help you not only not to forget the critical things. That's very important. So thus far we have talked about this. Now next, let us come to the last part of this session. Very important concept of IAM, integrity asset management. Again, big players, they are utilizing it to the fullest. Lot of details are required to be worked into, but some of the important things I will just touch upon. The thing is, this is a systematic approach to ensure all equipment, running static, mobile, that is absolutely irrelevant. All equipment are operated in its within its envelope, and this involves monitoring and managing the entire thing during its life cycle. So the main thing is about this is okay. Inspection maintenance is the activity which will get accrued from effective performance monitoring or the limit management. From there, it will dictate that what are the things to be inspected, what are the things to be maintained, and sometimes it will be vice versa based on certain proactive inspection, say thickness measurement, etc. You come across that, you start monitoring that how whether how it is doing now. So this is a comprehensive program wherein particularly in crude distillers, we are processing notorious crudes nowadays. So be it high crude, be it low API crude. So all these have its own problem, but effective monitoring will definitely you can evade all those problems. One word about hydrotreater, very critical. Not that I have worked in hydrotreaters, one of my favorite, but still hydrotreater is too crucial. The REAC of hydrotreating units and subsequent downstream uh, dead ends. These are very critical, very critical. This often goes unnoticed, but dead ends, mind it, will be is a really a poor is an area where from really disasters can start. So we will delve upon one more concept next. One more concept, but before that, a simple example. This is about crude column, crude distiller, crude column, the main crude column. So the critical area, just to have a feel that what is that IAM. The typical problem is the top dome gets corroded. And why it gets corroded? Because of chloride, because of operating below the dew point, etc., etc. So what you need to do is to ensure that you are operating above the dew point, and ammonium chloride is above the ammonium chloride, below the ammonium chloride is of the desublimation temperature, so that your column is safer, and more importantly, some other actions, that whether the injections are going all right, whether the pH monitor. So these are process monitoring things, parameters, but you need to check that from time to time, and otherwise crude columns have tended to have severe corrosion from the top, and there are instances when material there is loss of containment. So again, this is an example as to how you operate, stay within the limit. Next. So this is other than those we have talked about alarm limits, etc. Typically, it's a safe limit. Safe limit, a very deceptive word, in the sense that you can operate a crude column very safely from 10 degrees centigrade to 200 degrees centigrade, from vacuum to 5 kg per centimeter square pressure. So this is a safe limit. But do you want to, can you operate a truth column like that? This is because the truth column, when is operated in this service, will have a typical operating range. Even if it is beyond that, it is still safe. But if you are not operating within the operating range, then you land into some other problem. Likewise, I'll give two examples. The truth column dew point, if I am operating below the dew point, then corrosion will take place and leak will take place, corrosion and consequent leak and subsequent loss of content. You go to the other side, say in a hydrotreater dead end. So dead end there is, because of organic chloride carryover, the dead ends are containing chlorides. The liquid is will contain chloride, and because of hydrogen, they will tend to form HCl. So what you need to do, you need to ensure that those dead ends are not cold. Those dead ends are also in vapor phase, not in liquid phase, so that the corrosion does not take place. So that means your operating thing safe. Again, this is also safe, but this is what we call integrity range, integrity operating window. That's the range. So you need to operate within the integrity operating window if on very specific cases. So you need to find out that what are the cases where you need to operate different. In very simple terms, suppose there is a SS pipe and there is a P9 pipe and there is a carbon steel pipe. So for high sulfur fluid processing, you cannot operate the system as a whole beyond 270 degrees C. Why? Because the carbon steel will not, under high sulfur condition, will not be able to withstand a temperature of beyond 270 degrees C. Whereas the stainless steel can still operate. You can go up to 400 degrees C also, well, no problem. But your system is limited to this. That's the pinch point. So you cannot operate beyond that because the constraint is there. It's not only about the piping, it's about the gaskets, the pressure rating of the gasket, the type of gaskets. So all these come into play because and that can be defined through a very narrow window called integrity operating window. So we tend to miss such things, and that's the cause of disaster. That's the disaster, the trigger for disaster. We need to identify these areas, and every plant will have its own unique way of thinking, only a unique way of having a problem. But these need to be very well thought out, very well planned, very well executed, whatever action it calls for, so that you always remain safe. So this is an area where most of the plants are really lacking, and this needs to be geared up. Next. So finally, we are now almost at the end of this. Well, what is that overall thing we are talking about? We have talked about maybe 1.5 hours, just not in much detail, but still in some detail. So could you see the common thread? See, we talked about 4 pillars. Fifth strategy said that don't jump into the well. Safety management is about doing things right every time and limit within the framework, whether be it PSM, workplace safety, whatever it is. Operations management is about right things. So we should not miss anything which is required to be done. So it has to be done right every time. And it is about alarm rationalization is about boundary. Then we talk about integrity asset management and integrity operating window, which again says you are constrained or you must operate within a boundary. So what is there? So the common thread is next. Hello, next. So the common thread is boundary. But how would you restrict all within boundary? Now you talk about operational discipline. That's why this is the backbone. So you have to find out where is your boundary, and if you really want to be within the boundary, you have to resist all the things and restrict yourself through operational discipline. Operational discipline that you are well restricted, well confined within that boundary. So boundary and discipline, this integrates operational assurance. This is operational assurance all about. I told this is not a software program. This having a very, very clear idea about boundary and a certain amount of discipline in the form of operational discipline, like the discipline we reveal during a temple visit or a church visit or a mosque visit, whatever be it. The same discipline contexted for a plant has to be shown here, and with that, with the boundary concept of clear-cut concept of boundary is what we talk about in operational assurance. See the entire. Just imagine. Sita was given was shown a Lakshman Rekha. So Lakshman Rekha next. So what happened? Sita, okay, I'll come to that next. So the elevator speech of operational assurance is we do right things first time and every time, and we know our limits. We operate within the limit all the time. This is what entire thing is all about. So we will, if we do all this, if we follow this, we do the right things first time, every time. So there is no untoward incident, and we will always continue to operate within the limit. So if we are within the limit, so where is the question of an untoward incident? In fact, the entire Ramayana was written because Sita flouted that norm. Lakshmanji had given that next. The Lakshman Rekha was drawn on Sita, but she could not, seeing that golden deer, she could not resist. So she crossed the boundary. And that led to the entire writing of entire disaster. The Ramayana was again further written on this because she could not confine herself within the boundary. So neither the operational discipline was honored because Lakshman had time and again told, don't cross the limit. Don't cross this Lakshman Rekha. Neither the boundary, the operational discipline was maintained, nor the, I should say, the greediness of crossing the boundary for that golden year was adhered to. And that led to the entire Ramayana Kanda. Okay, so thank you. So this is what operational assurance is about. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll keep the floor open for question and answers, sir. Now.
Please.
Participants, you may please unmute and ask questions, please. Participants, you may please unmute and ask questions. Yeah, please go on.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much
Sanjay
for your
Ramesh here again.
presentation, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, go on.
Sir, the thing is that, operational discipline, the second word is the most difficult thing, Being discipline is the challenging aspect, as you know, especially of course when I see in the large scale organizations like Reliance or HMEL or even the Refinery, uh, they adhere to this discipline practices, management commitment has come up and other things. Whereas in the mid-sized companies and small-scale companies, where they are very closely working with market. So the market is demand and feed supply situation or even the product situations are varying. So adhering to the operational discipline is I found practically this kind of challenging aspects. Of course, discipline always makes the whatever you talked about. So how do we handle that type of situation?
See, the first pillar is feed strategy. So that's why I told that it may not be applicable for a chemical industry, that feed strategy, but it's a market strategy. So that means how do you go about enhancing your production or making a particular grade of chemical or whatever it is. That's a strategy. Very generic thing is strategy. So you have to finally decide upon the strategy, not to jump inside the well, but knowing your boundaries, knowing your capabilities, knowing your constraints, you need to chalk out a strategy, and based on that, you have to move that, and then do that risk assessment. That if I do this, what is the whether the risk is acceptable or not? If I do a sort of sensitivity study also, but all said and done, you have to see that under all circumstances, whatever I'm doing, I'm not crossing the limit. So that's how that's challenging, no doubt on that. It's very easy to say and then do it practically, but this is the order of the day. This is how you operate. That's how you ensure that you are reliable and sustainable. So that has to be the thing. Again, take the example of the Gurdwara in the Golden Temple. How if so many people are from different caste, creed, religion, they are all thronging into that place. How come everything has fallen in place? It's because of discipline. So that was also a challenge, but we see that that is happening. So here also, when we say that the Indian industries are doing well, no incident, we will see that this challenge is very well met, very effectively met. I agree that it's definitely challenging, but that's where the leadership role comes into play. So this has to be a bit of, if required, handled a bit, but not bit. In fact, the entire thing has to be handled. But yes, the leadership will come, role will come into play, and that will trigger the discipline for others.
Sir, what should be done to improve the safety standards of Indian industries, sir?
No, that's this is our wish. This is simply our wish. So again, we have to go to operational discipline. Straight. So we will say that again. We will like in a temple. A child also removes his or her shoe because know that inside the temple this is not allowed. So we have to have a similar mindset, and that I can understand. I can agree that that will not come overnight. But then that, again, that's the role of leadership. The top, it has to be a top-driven approach. The top has to believe that all these things are possible. We have to believe that all accidents are preventable. So if that is the case, then we have to do this. So this becomes a so-called culture. That's what we call operation. Culture is the final manifestation, and the activities are operational discipline. That's where we need to do. And again, this has to be top-driven. You cannot only say, a field operator saying that don't do this, that. Everybody has to believe that all these things are avoidable, no accidents will take place. And if you do this way, this is a thing which will achieve.
Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Muthukumar. I am from upstream oil and gas, not from downstream. I just wanted to share some interesting aspect of safety. Is it okay?
Yes, sure, sure.
Please.
Okay. Basically, with my just a small background, I'm in all upstream for nearly 40 years, and I know, as you know very well, that upstream also is very complex and highly risky environment compared to process industries in the downstream side. One of the major challenges in risk management and safety itself is what we have. By the way, I am a risk expert actually. I work with a lot of international oil and gas companies, upstream side, and insurance companies, as well as investors and major financial institutions to understand project risk and analyze and kind of discuss the value of the project against the risk kind of thing. One of the challenges, and it may be applicable to everyone, whether it's upstream or downstream or midstream, irrespective of how they are disciplined and with the process and other aspects of it, is that the risk is basically can be divided into four major categories, right, sir? One is random risk, non-linear risk, linear risk, and non-random risk. Fundamentally, the challenges, you talked a lot about DuPont and other thing, and I have seen them, use them in our downstream side of upstream, which is the production operations, which is after the exploration and production of oil to surface. Then you have production operations to segregate gas, oil, and water, and then export the crude to refineries or whatever, petrochemicals or whatever. So in that case, DuPont have used one of the fundamental, most of the risk management technology used not only in India, worldwide, is non-random and linear risk. Maybe 90% of them. Every approach, every procedure, every policy, every documentation, training, coaching, everything goes for that. So basically, as you know very well, I don't have to because you are so experienced. So it is not for you, but maybe for somebody in the call today, just for the benefit. Random and as you know, random, non-random and linear is basically the risk is predictable. The outcome is also predictable in most cases. Nothing is 100% perfect. But at least up to 80% to 90% level, we can predict the risk and also predict the outcome. There are again black swans, 10 to 15%. It is impossible to predict, and outcome cannot be predicted. But in the random and non-linear risk, probably about only 20%, the opposite will happen, can be predicted, and the outcome also cannot be predicted. Only 20% probably yes or no, but nearly 70% of the risk which it comes in is not predicted earlier, and the outcome is also not predictable. So these are the issues happens whenever you look at any major incident. Look at DuPont record statistics. If I look at it, they have reduced the reportable incidents to a very minimum level, which is appreciable from based on the process-based industries concept, where the non-random and the linear systems are mainly applicable. But even there, as we say, 20% of it or 15% of it can be other side of it. Every time a major risk happens, every time you also gave one or two case histories initially, very interesting. And those cases, if you look at it, it's all kind of a random or a non-linear, and then becomes a major incident. Then that is brought into the assembly of the risk structure itself and how to look at it. Then after about some few years, another one happens like that, another one happens like that. And once we develop that into, we also identify at the end of the day, instead of whatever you have process, Internet of Things and control system, instrumentation, monitoring, AI-based prediction models and pattern development, whatever you do, irrespective of what happens, ultimately, what we understand is that the decision making with respect to risk approach and management has become a subjective matter. Two people will see risk in a different format, and also falls into the mental development of the people who take decisions accordingly. As you also pointed out correctly, leadership and other things, and that's where the difference comes into picture. And it has been a very challenge to the entire world to how to really remove this aspect of subjective approach to the risk management, irrespective of whatever systems that we have. And that's a challenge. I think someone like you, who are already so experienced and developing so much of systems to coach and train people, maybe you have to. One of the things which I have seen in my life, sir, is that the people from the entire the risk product industries, like for example, downstream side, his risk is something different from the upstream side, or different from a space science, for example, or different in a nuclear science. They do not come together. For me, my personal experience in one of the world conference on risk management in the US, I gave this talk. I say, see here, I see only one industry people sitting there. That's all. I don't see any from, it's upstream. So I said, it's nothing from our downstream, nobody from nuclear, nobody from space science, nobody from basic real estate construction and shipping, nobody is there. So obviously, same thing happens probably to every industry. When they do the risk of downstream, only downstream people will be there. And unless you bring an integration of all of them together, all the experts together, and implement the aspect of the subjective matter of risk into objective matter of risk, the issue will keep on going throughout our life, irrespective of what systems we put in. So as a suggestion to you, maybe you're already leading in several things. Maybe you can think about how to integrate the risk and convert this. One of the research I'm doing right now, sir, is that how to convert the subjective risk matters into objective risk matters. There's a suggestion for you, and because you have much more experience on risk and quality coaching and training and systems, please think about it. And I don't know what you think about it, and you can share your points, and just a suggestion for you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Really, really a good insight. And that's the order of the day. In fact, the day somebody will find the risk objectively. So this risk is 1, the other risk is 5. So then that day we are very, very clear. Today, absolutely correct that there are a lot of subjectivity. But we can say that, yes, it is lesser risk and it is higher risk. Acceptable risk or not at all. Something like that. But thank you for that insight. Just a small thing in an upstream installation for Exxon. I had worked for some of the through LTI. Let me tell that also, no problem. So I had given certain a thing, which is basically a pump top this thing, but wherein a little bit, not the entirety, a little bit of such things will be addressed. This is in the upstream. This is for Exxon installation. Let us see how it flourishes. Then based on that, what you said is absolutely correct. But meanwhile, yes, objectivity to that, we should start working on this. That how it can become fully objective rather than subjective. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For the insights.
Oh, thank you, sir. Maybe Mr. Gopi, maybe a suggestion. See, a lot of experts are in the call, I'm sure, because they're all interested in risk management and quality. And someone like sir who presented now with so much of knowledge and experience, you can create probably another one, a panel discussion. People from different industries, downstream, upstream, whatever industries, and then bring people, and all of us can share experience and see whether we can do an integrated approach to quality and risk management and safety management. Maybe something like that. I have just a suggestion to open, and Mr. Gopi can think about it. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We'll take it forward, sir. We'll discuss with the team. Yeah, Anandraj, go on. Anandraj.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. It's a wonderful session. Just I want to ask, whenever there is a production industry, there is always a pressure on production. So how do you think how to manage between the production pressure and the safety? What is your view on it? Definitely, we should not compromise safety, but at the same time, the middle management is in a position to balance between the top management and to get the work done.
Sir, Anandraj is from IOC Panipat.
Oh, that's great. Okay. See, we have talked about two things. One is about strategy. Okay, we talked about fit strategy, but that is generalized to a strategy, thing called strategy. So that can be a strategy that we need to have a more production, etc., etc., but at what cost? But finally, when it comes to the safety or the boundary, not crossing the boundary, this is a purely a top-driven exercise. Purely top-driven. If the top is convinced, nobody will force you and me to say, I don't know, the heater tubes are getting, there is an impingement of the burners. So still you go ahead. Nobody will tell you. So that's why it has to be a top-driven, and the top leadership, they have to understand that I am constrained within this, so this is my, this is the Lakshman Rekha. I will not cross that. But obviously, if I am a shift in charge, I have been instructed saying that increase the throughput, say, instead of 650 to 750. Just for example, I'm saying. Then what will happen? So because it is an instruction, I will try my level best, but then some constraint will come into picture, and then I will put not only the plant, the entire system in there, and the people in jeopardy. So that is absolutely not allowed. I should straight away, in very clear terms, I should say, these are the constraints, and based on that, I'm not able to put through the whatever the instruction was. And again, the solution lies that it has to be top driven. The top must understand. That is a thing. It is not only about you and me. The top leadership must understand that where is the constraint and where is our boundary. Otherwise, the Ramayana will be written. That's for sure. That's where the fallacy lies.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go on, Tawfiq.
Yes. Sir, Sanjay sir, it's very informative, and most of things which you are knowing, you specifically pointed out, like handover, takeover, and the main thing is to consistency of applying it. My question is regarding the attrition rate, sir. The current scenario of cost control strategy all over the world. For a particular budget, we are not getting any highly experienced persons. We are getting a freshers. So we train them to minimize the downtime. So they have to act independently and to solve the problem, find the root cause. But the issue is when they get a better opportunity, they leave at the same time. Almost, if it's 1 or 2, okay, majority of them they leave. So how you handle this situation in the past? Have you come across this kind of situation in your experience in the past? So just we want to know about your experience regarding this high attrition rates.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very practical problem. And true, there are certain times, had been certain times, wherein people tended to leave the organization and then go elsewhere because the opportunities were immense. Financially, they were better off. That's what they say also. But all said and done, this is a temporary phenomenon which at that point of time, which I had also experienced, a lot of people, a chunk of people leaving for Middle East because there are ample opportunities. And obviously the salary is all more than double this one, and that is also tax-free. These are practical problems, I can understand. But those things are mainly, you have to deal with. Those are very tough times, definitely, no doubt on that. But those are very short-lived things. The thing is, see, finally, if you can put your, that's again the leadership role comes into play. If you can finally say, project, not say, project, if people see that your organization is the safest of all, money will not be the major criteria. DuPont, I was fortunate enough to be trained by a DuPont expert for 1.5 years. And time to time, he used to tell me that people do not leave DuPont. Not that DuPont pays me, you get more money, used to in a lighter vein, you get more money than me. But uh, uh, but people do not leave DuPont because DuPont is a safe haven, and everybody wants everybody in US the elevator speech is DuPont. Okay, they are very safe, so we can work for DuPont. So that's why people are crazy about working in DuPont. So that's the way it goes. I can understand your problem, but those are short-lived. In the long run, this is what we have to look for. And for
Thank you.
that, the leadership has to play a very, very major role. It is a leadership issue.
Management issue. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sanjay, just to add the points, whatever you have mentioned, maybe topic needs to look at the, what do you call the job profiles and the job descriptions, what we are given for each post. In the management of very large companies, especially I'm saying it, there's a tendency to keep many people without any job and keep them as a, what do you call, yes, boys or whatever you call it as about. So if they start looking at the, what is the position, what position is, what kind of a job to be responsibility and accountability, probably you'll be able to pull out the people even from, see, number of people learning and going, is it good for India, no? We should think it, rather than take it as the, oh, like a crying baby, why we should think about. If one floor leaves, okay, another 10 floor will get an opportunity. That's what I thought. Just, and we did a thing called JDs, there is job description and JCP. Another one is RACI. RACI stands for what do you call it? I mean, responsibility, accountability, then consulting of information. These by Saxon Mobile had given some inputs. These are all good things to keep the management and the entire system to work like a in tandem. People can come and go. There's nothing harm in that. But only thing, the system should be sufficient enough that can I manage the show with the existing people, whatever I'm having about. Talk to the guys who are in the old generation fellows. No? They may not have much of the work also. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's true, sir. But the issue is when they leave all at the same time, that is the issue. 1 or 2 goes at a time, okay, we can recruit and train them. The issue is happening.
I always think that in Reliance there's one famous.
The majority of the team, yes, sir, yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, in Reliance there's one famous phrase is that it's called that the people were allowed to join Reliance, that's from outsiders. And the people will be what you call more happy to take the people from Reliance. Both are coming. They'll be in and out as to go. If your company is accepted, if your company, then they'll be a brand ambassador for your company. Don't think that negative aspects and don't look the other way about it. See, unfortunately, entire safety system is one of like a dormant thing, and many people never even looked at it. But these days, people talk very large. Even yesterday there was a chlorine leak in the Madhya Pradesh, one of the paper mills. All that what I'm trying to say is that look through your system. What is the way I need to keep certain bench strength? In IT,
in the people. I'm not speaking negatively.
I'm always of the opinion that the youngsters who are coming, they come with a lot of what do you call affections and expectations and so many things. There's one blank chart is there. It says that how the goes over. So you have to give some. I can't blame any of my youngsters who are coming from colleges.
No, I'm not blaming the youngsters. I'm saying about the management, as Mr. Sanjay said. It's a leadership. I agree with him. The leadership, yes.
If you are in the safety section, start looking at what is it. See, you won't believe, boss. I mean, I'm just not that I'm trying to boast about. With hardly 5 people in our department, we did work for almost over 30 fellows.
Okay.
The human mind is how I am able to see after God has given 24 hours. Within the 24 hours, what is the best way I'm making use of it? There may be a section where the people are there, but they are misusing. They work hardly about half an hour or 1 hour a day.
It happens. Some seniors,
No, you're right. I'm also passed through. What that I'm saying is that we have to work together to find out, yes, my plant is the best. I am recognized by my plant. Not as a Murthy or not as Sanjay or not as Gopi or whatever. The backing is Gopi is known because of Suez. Sanjay is known because of Reliance, IOC or HML kind of. That is the one which is helping us. So you have to make this kind of a motivating talks to the youngsters when they come to you. I'm sure you are capable. See, I got hundreds of belief that my youngsters can do wonders.
Okay.
Thanks. Nice talking.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice interactive. Thank you.
Sanjay sir, is the career option for safety personnel not attractive enough to get pace setter mindset in people manning safety?
I couldn't get it. Can you please repeat?
Yes. Is the career option for safety personnel not attractive enough to get pace setter mindset in people manning safety?
Oh, no. Now, as days have progressed, the safety personnel, they have become an integral part of the entire process and they are extremely valued. In my presentation, somewhere in DuPont, this thing, the safety personnel, that is one of the requirement. It's not that, okay, each and every line supervisor is a safety manager, that's fine. But as far as not only the compliance model goes, that a safety personnel has to be in place for doing each and all these things. So he has to inject all these ideas, all these activities. So they are very, very well appreciated, well respected, and well paid also. So leave no doubt. Even at old age, what we are talking about is about major safety. Is a major thing, and people are listening to that. I have talked to a few of the people. In fact, few of the companies, they talk to me because I am not that much more mobile because of family, this thing. Otherwise, they were saying that why don't you handle some of our engagements? So they are very well. There's absolutely no doubt. They have got huge opportunities in India and abroad, and that's the order of the day. No doubt on that.
Yeah, anyone else has a question? So one more thing, is that safety folks waste their time on trivial aspects and leave the big picture?
No, small aspect, I do not know. Nothing is small, number one, because only small things can complement into a very, very big thing. But that's different. But what are the small things? Okay, to start with, if you are in a new regime, new everything has to be done. Okay, all tidbits are required to be injected. That's I fully agree with that. But as such, when I'm doing, I must take pride in my work, pride in my organization. That's again part of operation discipline. So nothing is small, nothing. I cannot think this session, talking in this session is small. Not at all. I'm grateful enough. So that's part of I'm very much elated and very much here. This is nothing small. Okay, there may be lot of people, there may be few people hearing, but for me, it's not at all a small job, not at all. So, that you have to have your own this thing. Nothing is small, definitely not.
No, Sanjay, the only question which was I could at least see that about many times the safety officers or the safety supervisors, they look at more of the PP. Certainly, PP is also important. That is the personal safety protection, or even the they look around and to see that whether my fire gadgets etc. are in place and things like that. But what we are trying to look at in a process plant like us, or even the other one Mr. Kumar was talking about, the people should start looking at where are the places my risk is brewing or it is existing today. It may be because the inspection not done certain things properly or maintenance is not done properly. I don't know. All that I'm saying is that if we become a paper tiger and you say that yes, I'm doing it. See, why I'm asking this question is that we had been to one industry, I don't want to name the industry here. And when we asked them the question on the 8x8 matrix, hardly any people knew about. And another one is that even they were not interested in telling about what has gone wrong in the last, let's say, 3 years or 5 years or 6 months kind of. So we have to tell them that the incidents which are frequent but of minor nature, but incident which may be rare, but that is much more. So am I having the safety system in place? That is where the safety department, are they really getting it? Like you have you had an advantage of working under DuPont, which is excellent. So the similar advantage, is it happening across India? That was my question. Thank you.
No, it is true that in India we have some miles to go But that does not mean that things are not happening. Yes, slowly, but I strongly feel that again you have to hit the bullseye. That means top leadership has to come into play. Number one, and some responsible people who know the subject has to direct them in the correct way. That's why handholding will be required. And these two, I am very sure, if these things come into play, we will move faster.
No, isn't that the fear of what you know, getting some reprimanding or whatever thing happening more in the private sectors than the public sector? I'm saying is that is the reason why everything is under the carpet. Anything of the kind to tell about? I don't know. From safety perspective.
Under the carpet serves no purpose. So that's what we need to. Every incident has to be investigated. The root cause analysis has to be done, and you have to dig in. So these are all ideal things. I know whatever I'm saying is ideal things, but these are very much possible. Very, very much possible. It's not that it is not possible. We have to have certain will, certain intent. So that's where again and again I'm saying that's why leadership comes into play. Unless until the leader, the top leader drives it, you will not get that. So that's why it is so important. And all safety programs you will see, say new safety initiative, people will go to the topmost person first and then percolate it down. So,
thank you, Sanjay. Thank you. Nice looking at you.
Thanks, Murtiza. Hopefully you are well now.
Yeah. Everything is good. That's right. Well, I was not able to sit for long, so I was sitting in my sofa. I was continuously watching, I was hearing about. So I thought a lot of enthusiasm again came back. Thanks for
thank you.
all your update. Thanks to Gopi also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Anyone else has a question? One last question.
Good.
Yeah, please.
Here.
Go on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session. It's very informative. Sir, I'm actually an asset management professional. I'm currently in industry. Similarly, we have asset management related standards and we follow them. I want to have a request, sir. Do we have a similar approach in other industries also? Equal importance, whatever safety and relevant is given to other department, other verticals apart from oil and gas or chemicals. How do you see the India's transition, sir, in this approach, safety and reliability approach in India across industries?
Your voice in between got broken a bit, I suppose, but what I could gather, see that whether this is okay or not. See, we were talking about IOW, etc. For all these, there are certain API standards. Why I have not mentioned API standards? Because you will get diverted elsewhere. Okay, so what I was trying to highlight upon is a real process requirement of identifying operating window. There are standards, API 64 or something like that, which talk about, or 604. Exactly now forgotten the API number, but API 64 probably, which defines all this. But those are more mechanical sort of thing, that these are the things which you are required to do, these are related to compliance, these are for the tanks, these are for equipment, other equipment, etc. So there are standards available, but if I have got your questions correctly, there are standards available, but one has to be very, very circumspect about what he has and what he wants to do, and how he designs the entire program of integrity asset management. So that will depend upon all this. The ones which I was talking about, that chloride, this will not be there in any standard at all. There is no standard which says all this, because these are felt, these are experienced, these are felt needs. You have experienced something, and based on that, you have come out. What API says that generic term, what you should do. That's all. And that too very mechanical. Does this answer your question?
Thank you, sir. Yes, there's a signal problem. According to safety and reliability expectations, according to internal.
Voice is breaking, Karthi.
I will. Sir.
Yeah, I think we are done, sir. So thank you. So thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay, for taking your time out on a Sunday morning to be with us. And it's a very informative session. There are a lot of takeaways from this. I'm sure all of us enjoyed this session today. Thank you very much once again for being with us. And thanks, Mr. Murthy, also for connecting us to you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Sanjay.
everybody. Thank you very much.